Dear colleagues, so let's start our roundtable discussion, and we will stick to the timeline that we have. And my name is Alexei Gospodarov, and I'm the head from Administrative Department from Federal Agency for Fisheries, and I'm responsible for digitalization. And my hobby coincides with my responsibilities at work, and I get deeper into this process every day, and it frightens me a little bit how other people, fishermen and representatives of the fisheries industry, understand that process. And we have the name of our session, Digitalization No Way Back, and all the decisions have been already made at the highest level. Vice Prime Minister is manually monitoring what is happening right now, and I'm sending about 5 digitalization report about what has been done in various areas. So today we would like to share the trends that we see and the areas we are working on, and maybe get some feedback about whether we are doing that right and whether we are implementing that correctly. And the organizers have given us an opportunity to have interactive voting. I don't know whether we will manage to do that, but we can always try. Can you please show us on the screen the voting? So do we manage to do that? Okay. But we don't see that on the side screens. What about the right-hand side? Okay. So it's enough to turn on your camera and to click on the QR code so you can vote. This is anonymous poll. We prepared some other questions for the discussion itself. So we can already see whether we have managed to do it. What are the results? Okay. So it's a pity. I hope that somebody of you has Aurora, but it's not the case. The second question, which is also a test question. So for abbreviations, and I included some abbreviations from our everyday work, what we see in our activities. So let's turn to the responses. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Alexander Mikhailov, the head of the Center for Fishing and Communications Monitoring System. And he knows almost everything about those abbreviations, and he is an active participant in those activities. Alexander, I sincerely hope that you will be able to explain everything about what is happening with our work. The floor is yours, please. Dear Alexei, dear speakers and participants, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak at this round table. And I'm the head of the Center for Fishing and Communication Monitoring System. I have been working there for 2 years already, and this is my 3rd forum. And this is the first time we have this digitalization session, because this is a very important trend that we see now everywhere. And I will try to touch upon the issues and tasks that have been set for me. I will have 10 minutes to do that, and I will try to give you a detailed description of the achievements that we have reached. I will talk about the current results that we've obtained. And the center has been established for more than 15 years. In August, we held a conference, and there we touched upon the results and the systems that we have developed over the years, GIS system as well. Do people know which is GIS GPR? So the system was developed in 1999. In May, the ruling was signed by the head of Rosrybolovstva. So the VNIRO was responsible for this work, and since then there was a transition of this system to another agency. Do I have to click here? Where is the clicker? No, this is the headphone. This is not the clicker. Okay, thank you. So this is an example of input substitution. So when I was thinking about the plan for my presentation, I wanted to tell you so many things about various aspects. But in general, about digitalization, I identified four main areas we've been dealing with for the past 2 years. And the improvement of the regulatory framework and the enactments that we are working with, also the development of new systems with the basic GIS system that has been mentioned, and also the input substitution system. And the most important point is bringing together specialists and building a team. And now on the digital market, there is a high demand, and we talked about it in August at the conference. Ms. Plitnova was speaking about this topic. So the demand for IT specialists who know everything, not only about the technologies, but also about business processes, and they even know better all those processes around the digital environment, and they can program, they can adjust their equipment. And since 2021, we've started building such team, and we created our own ecosystem. We developed Sigur platform, and there we provide all the state services. Overall, we have 14 of them, and we do that all. Our resources, our specialists are providing all the support for it. And now we are getting some new services that we offer to the territorial department and also to the fishermen. And this is one of the most important achievements we've had in recent times. We also have the technical support team, and it is not for all the products, but we are still working on it. And also another important feature that we have a new team dealing with new cutting-edge products. Some of them are used by fishermen as well. This year, we've conducted some market studies and research, and before that, we were dealing only with the fish, but now we also try to analyze the market, the fish market in general, and we provide certain forecast, and we collect the analytical data. Let's get back to point number 1, the improvement of our regulatory database and the framework in our state government structure and in the life of fishermen, and in digital environment, in state structures. The regulatory framework is the basic element, because without that, any initiative can actually perish in spite of all the efforts that have been taken. Here we can see the list of the regulatory documents our specialists were working with since very beginning. The electronic permits, these are the basic things that are necessary for the fishermen, and also the electronic journal. That is what regulator needs, and it was included into one federal law, and in December it will come into force. Talking about specific products, we have quotas, and I will give you some examples about the connection between all those elements. Last year, we calculated in digital environment the number of quotas and the orders that have been issued. We did that in December, and we had very short time to do this work. And what is very important, after the calculations were made, we send them in electronic form to the territorial department so that they could actually issue the permits for 2023 TIGUR system. I've mentioned that we have 14 services, and this is our initiative for the current development, and the regulatory framework is not sufficient. However, we have had very good feedback in 2023 about the results, and fishing season has been analyzed using this product. In mid-June, the fishing season started. Formally, it has come to an end, but actually, in practice, the catch is still ongoing, and the second largest catch in the Far East, 600,000 tons, and that is the average indicator. And in 2 months, together with the territorial department at the Far East, we collected all these analytical data. About 30,000 reports have been collected and processed, and online we saw all the catch results for salmon species. This is for the first time in the history of the fisheries industry that something like that has been done, and that was the task that was given to us by the regulator, and electronic certificates that have been already implemented in the work of the authorities. And it was done also in South Korea and China. The third point, the third area we are working on, we actively started developing that in 2022, the information security of input substitution. And since February, at our information nodes, we had a lot of cyber attacks. We had to combat them, and it was quite successful. We tried to protect our servers. We didn't have a lot of tools to do that, but we ensured the safety in the process of the implementation of new services, and everything functioned quite successfully. I will have a separate slide dedicated to information security, and I will give you an example of why, when the digitalization is growing, it is of paramount importance. I will give you 2 real examples, and specifically I'd like to talk about our satellite group, and you have to understand that we are turned off from the foreign satellites. We first felt that with the AI's data, which we used to apply from the sources with the transit. It came from abroad, and since the end of 2022, thanks to the most successful example of PPP project, thanks to Citronics company that last year they demonstrated new satellites, FUSAT technology for small satellites was introduced, and they were launched a little bit before the previous forum, and that was launched from Vostochny, 10 vehicles that are in active use, and that helps us to develop this activities in spite of the existing sanctions. So I'd like to extend our gratitude to Citronics company. And Ganets company is another company that represents space systems, and it is working actively, building upon the potential that they have to unlock. And recently, at the beginning of this week, we have received the results of successful tests from Ganes, from ground stations that have been used actively with the serial manufacturing. And we use that to provide and to send all the daily reports from the vessel, and we can send electronic permits like this as well. And in order to use that on board the vessel, we no longer need any foreign systems, but we use our domestic developments, and I'd like to thank the company for this opportunity. And if we compare the prices, we can see that the transfer of SSID, about 6,000 rubles from Ganets, it's about another amount. It's maybe 250, 300 rubles, so it's much cheaper. Thank you. The next slide, please. The previous one. Who is clicking on that? Well, we are being attacked, I think. So I wanted to tell you more about specific examples in our digital environment. The end of last year, what I told you about, and we calculated the quarters, and then they went through Sigur system, and we sent the electronic permits that I've mentioned before. And Yelena, maybe you can correct me, on the 20th of December, we calculated it, and then in the Far East, they already issued some electronic permits. About 30,000 of them have been issued.
About 15,000 permits have been issued before the end of the year. We've got electronic fishing log. It was introduced by law. Anastasia Tomaszewska is the head of innovation service that is involved in developing this product and another product as well. We've got great progress. Out of 2,000 ship and boats, have around one half have already installed this electronic log or are using it regularly. Now let's talk about our satellites. We are using Gazprom space systems who are able to provide access to all the boats. We are also fighting illegal hunting, illegal fishing. We are using CCTV cameras to see what's going on in the boat, either in real-time mode or later on, together with Gazprom Space Systems, to whom we are immensely grateful, and who have formed a sort of PPP with us, we have installed this equipment on fishing boats. For several months we have been monitoring the use of the equipment to make sure we are able to provide the quality we need. We've got enough equipment to cover all the fishing boats to spare. Next, we are planning to involve Citronics company. 12 of them are already on the orbit, and 70 more are waiting to be put into the orbit to provide the full coverage from satellites. They have already launched great satellites that help get data from distant monitoring. We are using these satellites to get data for the automated information system, monitoring the environment, water temperature, the content of various substances in the water, such as phytoplankton. And this is important for the science. The whole world are using satellites to help develop the science. Now let's talk about information security. I've told you about the threats that we have seen. I'll give you a couple of examples that seem very important to me. They're real life scenarios. This year, the agro hub Selyatino in the Moscow region has a huge fridging equipment with lots of products stored there. Fridge is computerized now, and there was a hacking attack that destroyed 40,000 tons of products because they changed temperature manually. It's great that the technicians there spotted that on time, but the 40 tons of products risked to be destroyed. Especially if that is a fridge that is working with investment quotas, and this is a risk of non-performance that would involve multi-billion-dollar fines and penalties. Second, this year in Rotterdam, there was a hacker attack on the port that is very active, but it had stopped functioning for several hours. This again resulted in huge losses. During the Eastern Economic Forum, I've heard the governor of Kamchatka talking about building ports and infrastructure that would be using modern technologies. And there is this risk which we need to take into account. We need to secure it and provide for cybersecurity. Now, I believe the most interesting thing. I've seen a publication in the RipFront portal since 2023, we have shifted to electronic logs. We are planning to build profiles for each of the fishermen with all the data about their fishing boats, all the legal documents, licenses, protocols. All those will be stored in a single hub. We are now able to exchange data starting from the 1st of January last year. And I'm sure my colleagues will tell us about this today. We do have some challenges, but we are improving. One of the main drivers for us was the government, strange as it may seem. They have come up with a decree on experimenting in this area of licensing and granting permits. It made us build 14 government services in just a year and a half, and to digitalize them. This year, it was decided to use the state fishing register that will be digitalized and put on the platform. That also includes an interactive map for fishing. All the decisions have been made, and now we're establishing working groups. We are planning to improve our information and technical infrastructure, because the volumes are growing. The demands are growing in terms of speed for data processing and providing information. We are lagging behind, to tell you the truth, but we are getting better. I'm sure we will find a solution to make it quick and efficient. Another example of private-public partnership is the medical area. We've got that in our booth. Unfortunately, each year we've got accidents at sea involving fishing boats, and we need timely and qualified medical assistance. We have obtained permission from the healthcare service to develop a solution for remote medical examination that will help deal with accidents remotely. ACL company was also involved in the development of this tool. We have used domestic means of communication, photo and video capturing. We are already facing the issue of this being mandatory or not, but again, currently there are no regulations for any mandatory installation of this medical equipment. We are planning to install that on large vessels, catching crab and pollock, nothing else. We are working to get together the tools together with the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. We are discussing the regime for using this. This year we will be piloting this project. Yesterday, I talked to a member of Digitalization Committee from the Council of the Federation, the upper chamber of the Russian Parliament, And they believe that this solution will be in high demand to make our products more competitive that have been obtained through aquaculture in the domestic market. We import products and export products, and now it's a bit hectic. We need to make it more transparent and more predictable. I hope that next year we will be able to pilot at least one AI solution we have had several hackathons on AI, and that's why we've got some preliminary results. So I'm not able to tell you right now what the solution is going to be, but we are certainly going to have it. We are also involving research institutes to cooperate with them on various types of fish using forecasting models, and I will present the results as soon as we have them. We've got this time constraints, but that's how I see it. There is one thing, those are digitalization of services. We've got the Sigur system where we are able to provide those services electronically. This is one of the areas in which we work. I'm still at a loss as to why people continue using paper. It's much easier to just make a picture of a document, upload it to the platform, push a couple of buttons, and you're there. But there is another story that includes electronic fishing logs, transfer of data that would help us obtain enough data to analyze it, to record what we have. Is it correct? Is it a correct way to put things into order? So we've got services, and we've got those other tools that are mandatory, and that include reporting. We've got Nikolai Vlasov here with us today. He's the founder of those information system in the Agricultural Supervision Service. He was the one who decided they are to be in place, has developed all of them. So I've got the question now whether they are integrated with our systems that we have in place, and what is the way forward. You've got lots of experience with milk, meat, and other products. You are looking for counterfeit products, and you have started working with fish quite lately. Please tell us about the prospects. Right, there are three main areas in our interaction with the fishing agency in 2016, 19, and 22. First, we exchanged experience using daily ship reports. It took a lot of time to transfer data on permissible catch, but then we were able to do it. The things that were mentioned by my colleagues, the 1,000 fishing boats, almost 1,000, also already transfer data to our system. An information system called Mercury is processing this data. It is able to process about 15 million documents per day. It's about 10 petabytes of data that we store on this system. But there are some challenges. Number one, unlike onshore animal and products, we do not cover the whole area of water-based products. It's not easy to resolve the issue of transportation vehicles. It's all right with the fishing boats, but we are not making progress with transportation vessels, which play a significant role in the industry. Challenge number 2 is the onshore catching. Not all of the sites have been equipped duly and use those electronic logs and transfer data to their Mercury system. It's a great name for this session, you know, since we cannot look back. We cannot go back. There is a clear trend for no way back, because we are working together with the legislation bodies. So we will see a steady rise in the number of players. And in order to facilitate their work, we need to establish the information flows that would be paperless. And it means that all the segments must be covered equally. These are the 2 main challenges that we are facing. Now, what fishing industry can expect from our information system? There is good news, nothing new to be expected. Before we have the technology to cover all the segments, we will be active only in those areas that we or the Federal Security Service find any abuse. The fishermen will only feel the results of this activity, and they will be certainly directed at the bad faith players. And it will not be only about the remote methods of data analysis that we have been recently using. Another aspect I'd like to touch upon, which is different from dairy products, from poultry and the feed. So what impedes these activities is the technical regulation about the safety of fish products, because this document actually does not contain any useful information. So we do understand what meat products mean, and we understand which content of meat should be there, and it is recorded. And according to the regulation, there is no precise understanding of the percentage of fish that should be contained there. And like a fish feedstock, and it is called a fish product even when the percentage is about 2.6%. And something has to be done by the Federal Agency for Fisheries to improve the situation. And another aspect we will be tracking and analyzing, and it has to be taken into consideration by fish producers and those who work with the food processing industry. And we should not mislead a consumer. This is not our area of work, but from the point of view of security, we are of course interested in that. There is a strange situation in our country. This story related to the trademarks. I don't know who has come up with that, and the scandal with Samara. And if you write Sarah on the cans, it should
contain exactly that. But then if you add, for example, marine sera, then it will mean another type of product that will be put into this can. And in Latin, in small letters, it will be almost impossible to be read, and consumers will not do that. And something has to be done, and maybe in the Mercury system we will include the module for these types of transactions, and then we will be able to automatically track the compliance of the name with the feedstock that was used. And that is everything actually that I wanted to say, not to cause any trouble, but being in the vanguard, and I'd like to wish everyone success, and we would like to have this system in a very comprehensive way. Alexander Sergeyevich, technically, the coastal fishery, can it be included into the system? Is it possible? Yes. It is possible. We have STO version for this purpose, and we are still working on it, and hopefully at the end of this year we will be able to complete this work. And we got great support on the part of the fishermen, and we will soon release it. So this is an experiment right now, right? Well, we can say that this is the beta version of it. And when will we have the transition to the alpha version? Okay. Yes, at this stage, it is a beta version. Alexei Georgievich. So we were moving around the topic of the fleet, of the vessels with those logs. And what about the complaints? We are ready to hear some critics from your side. So the floor is yours. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Some words about the problems that we are facing due to the regulation being applied not in a very efficient way, because those regulating bodies are expecting some results from digitalization, and they have higher expectations than the real results. And sometimes we do not manage to achieve those results. Something still we manage to achieve. The first problem we faced, that the fishing vessels do not have the automated record of the total production, and the high-speed vessels, they have large amounts, large volumes of productions, and it takes about several seconds. They get all the products of various types. Well, the same catch from the same type of the catch and the products. It can be fillet or any other type, like fish flour in the bags. And with such a speed of production, we can't right now physically ensure the automated record in real time. Why is it happening? Because we have various manufacturing equipment, and it has been produced in many different countries. Every unit of equipment has its own software, and we have to have the special transition modules between them, and they should function automatically. So far, we have not achieved that because it requires a lot of expenses and time, and maybe only large companies could afford it. And then when they do, it can help others as well. And together with that, regulating bodies, they raise the following questions. There are certain permissible deviations, and you have the weight of the boxes that have been recorded. You can have, for example, 1,000 of boxes as of today, but when we do the inspection, you see that it is not 1,000 boxes, but 1,300 or 1,400 boxes, but it is not included into the permissible deviations recorded in the regulation. And then it is considered as a violation, and then you will have to pay fine for that. And it is something based on the judicial practice that we currently have, and the volume of such situations is growing, and it is quite detrimental for the industry and for the overall production. So, as I have previously mentioned, that technically now it is impossible to resolve this issue in terms of digitalization. Now we are forced to correct it with the help of the Federal Agency for the Fisheries, with sufficient explanation of how these deviations should be applied. But we also have some other examples when some digital technical solutions helped us to resolve some matters in a very timely manner. And here we talk about automated issuance of veterinary certificates that then serve as a basis for expert certificates to be issued. Last year, the issuance of veterinary certificates was performed together with the permits for bioresources productions. They are being sent in the cases when we have the lease of the vessels and not the owner of this vessel is catching fish, but the veterinary certificates are issued for the owner, for the specific platform. And we did face this situation when we had the automation certificate being issued, and it was no longer possible to manually make any adjustments in those documents. And then we came to Rossellhosnadzor, and then in the Far East we held some meetings with the fishermen, and we had the support from our colleagues. The changes were introduced there, and it was supervised by some relevant bodies and organizations. And then we initiated this automated regulation and automated issuance of veterinary certificates as it was supposed to be done. And since the 1st of October, new rules will be introduced for veterinary documentation for transportation. And there they have the unified approach that will be adopted for transport documents to be issued, and they have to be issued before the dispatch. And as we have high speed of production and the electronic data in the fishery log are being sent on a daily basis, we do not manage to do that in a timely way to provide this data. And again, at the meeting that was organized by the Ministry of Agriculture and some other relevant bodies, a decision was made because there was no ruling of registration. It takes a lot of time to do that. So some technical solutions were put forward to introduce some interim reports where we will be able to correct data and to adjust the data in this log once in 3 hours, and then it will enable us to get the timely information. And then when we have the overcharge, we can issue the transport document easier and faster. So that is the practice that has been established, and I hope that our colleagues will also tell us about the improvement of the program that can help us to resolve other issues as well. And what is the attitude towards this video and photo recording in terms of the crabs? Because it has been discussed for many years already. Yes, that is not the first time we talk about it. Back in 2018, 2019, it is an additional burden, some additional problems we have to face, and we have to improve this situation. But we view this process in the following way. So video recording has been used at some foreign fisheries, and we should follow the same path, but it should be done in parallel with another improvement. When we transship the products, we need inspectors to be present at the fisheries, and when we introduce video recording together with the border inspectors, then we will have to raise the question. No, it's not about the presence of those inspectors. It should be obligatory, but the inspection service will still be working because they have the ground to do that anytime they want to. But this obligatory thing should be abolished. Have I responded to your question? Yes. Let's turn to our next speaker, and I'd like to note that mainly we have the representatives of businesses at this roundtable, so they are directly using this system. The director for digitalization, Denis Golnev, from Russian fishery company, and I know that you have the system that allowed us to cut down the costs. And are you ready to share your experience and your developments with other companies, or is it exclusive for you? Of course, we are ready to share that, and not on a free of charge basis. It's great to deliver my speech here together with the representatives of our business community, and these are the users of the systems. But we are more than users. We are actually your clients, and we have to be satisfied with what you do. It should be convenient to be used by us, and there are certain issues that we are still facing, and we are ready to cooperate with you and to build on our partnership. And just a few words about digitalization. The next slide, please. Or clicker. Who has the clicker? Okay, thank you. Wonderful. So digitalization is a good word, but you have to understand that digitalization is first of all about business. So it has to bring some benefit for the business, and that is what we are doing. And our corporation is facing certain challenges. We are undergoing massive transformation. First of all, it's about the restructuring of the whole fleet, and it is not only the substitution of some metals, but also the commissioning of state-of-the-art trawlers. And it has been said about the speed of production. It is not only about the speed, but about the quality. We should not be forgetting that. So that will be the fleet of the next technological mode or paradigm, and the efficiency of processing without any waste, what we are dreaming about, it is very hard to be achieved. And diversification of products is another bullet point with a high added value, and the reduction of the cost. That is the third aspect we are working on. We have been here for many years, but there is room for improvement always, because when we deal with big, large vessels, it's also about the salaries of fishermen and the interaction with the representatives of the transport industry, and we are ready to move forward there, because this paper interaction is quite detrimental to the whole process, and this is quite a sad story in terms of finances and other aspects. It's a good driver that will help us to become more active, so we would welcome some initiatives here as well. The next aspect is the back office and the improvement of it. We have a lot of functions, and we will be talking about it. We have a lot of employees, and much personnel is involved in that, starting with the accountants and sales persons and their change management. It is not only the digital system, it is the changes that are required in the mentality, in the mindset of the fishery industry representatives. So when we talk about the commissioning of new trawlers, it includes a lot of other aspects like the operation of the fleet. And another problematic issue we are dealing with, it's not primarily about IT or digital systems, it's about the fleet. Because of the sanctions, we are looking for vendors from all over the world, and it changes our plans. And of course, we have to adjust and we have to adapt. Everybody has to do that in current conditions.
A couple of words of what our trawler is as 192 and what's the difference. We've got lots of sensors. This is simple as that. ST-192 has thousands of sensors. Now that we've got them, we are not always able to work with them. The same thing happens with the flour. We do not always have the good recording practice and accounting practice. Now that we have the digital control, we can manage that, not manually, but using information systems. We can build technological lines, forecasting behaviors. On-board plants may think that it's very easy, but it's not the same thing at sea, because it means different conditions, so it's not as simple as it may seem. The synergy of sensors and control systems can organize monitoring in SCADA and other systems. The next difference between the old and new fleet is the opportunity to use new equipment. You may have seen the old types of boats where you cannot really put the equipment. Now we've got the capacity to provide the good conditions and backup. We've got a full-scale server room where we can use video analytics and other type of data. The fourth difference is that the structure of the vessel includes room for cables and for channels, because otherwise we would have to ask for an inspection to authorize it in terms of maritime security. Now we can use mobile devices, tablets, etc. And last but not least is personnel. Doesn't mean that we will require superpower at this point in time, but we need people who can use the equipment and maintain it themselves. So this is a challenge for us. This super trawler is a more of a challenge because we are used to a classical type of fishing company. So what does it mean for us? It means they are now processing factories. It's not just a boat with a trawler, it's a full-scale plant with 80 to 100,000 components and spare parts. It's a lot. It's more than at a Toyota or Nissan plant. We need precision training and organization to provide for maintenance between going into the sea. ST-192 have been built with our foreign colleagues. We used best practices, but even in the foreign fleet, in the best international brands have various systems that are not connected, and we cannot see the general picture. We can see that it is not easy to trace the processing of raw fish. Sometimes we have to do it on paper. I'm a bit ashamed to say that, but still that's the case. We do want to integrate the systems, but we are not quite ready for that. The next thing is that we cannot see what's going on the ship from the bank, because the data is not transferred on shore. Nevertheless, that's what we need to be able to manage our sites remotely. The bigger the fleet, the more the need for scaling up to save money and boost productivity. Second, the international brand have their plants all over the world, and they make their own plants compete with each other using the same KPIs. They can make a plan of action and implement it. We don't have this today. This is the primary purpose for us, so that we can reach decent levels of productivity. Third, this is the result of what I have already said. Old-fashioned organization. When we face challenges on ship, sometimes we have to call for help and help manually. This is unacceptable, because we know that the productivity of this type of vessel, as compared to the Americans, in our case it is lower. The Americans are worse in some other ways, but still productivity, in terms of productivity, they outpace us, and I hope we will be able to catch up. Now, the electronic logs are also a challenge, because not everyone wants to work using those logs. But as we automate the processes, we see the specifics of the industry. We are trying to maintain the boats technically within a short period of time, because we can't make them stay for days before we install a system, and this means that we have to do things remotely, and we not provide enough technical support to the users. You mentioned GLONASS and other navigation systems today, but physics is physics. We do need satellites, and the speed of communication is not enough for us. And we don't just need to get information from all of the sensors. We need to organize video conferences to make various ships take part in a conference call. And the existing channels are not enough for that. And it is not enough to install costly equipment. And that's why we need those higher up to help us. Number 3 is the mentality of crews. Fishing is all about established practices, established people. Unfortunately, we don't see many young people there. And as we start implementing new systems, they say we are all about fishing, not about putting figures into the system. And there is some resistance and rejection. We have seen this several times, and I hope that the rhythm that we have used at the start will become quicker over the time. Now, import substitution is something that is difficult to do because the Europeans have their own standards. The Chinese have the same equipment, basically, but they don't have API drivers. There is no interaction on the level of information system. Sometimes we have to go back because we can't use the information from the more advanced devices. We have got lots of scales all over the boat. We need to weigh the catch, and to assess it, sometimes we cannot see the reason for the change in the weight of catch, but it all boils down to uncalibrated scales. We see that the production cycle has changed, but in fact, it's all the problem of calibration. There has not been any real change. Now that we are using AI and machine learning to see what's happening with the scale, to control the personnel, so that they calibrate the scales often. Otherwise, it's not easy to analyze the production. Video recognition is a costly technology because it requires service. It requires about 40 cameras, and it requires several servers for about 10 million rubles in costs. That's why we need to be prudent in evaluating the investment that we need. We are just giving the feedback, and we need to take it into account. As far as the support functions are concerned, optimizing and reaching target indicators that are in line with international standards, they concern the number of personnel per 1 ton of production. We've got our own stream concerning the processes that we need to modernize, to streamline. There are things that we need to change, but what I would like to mention right now is that I, as a user of those systems, think mobile first. That's what retailers do. They start with mobile applications. I can only say that I am amazed at Mercury because they are doing great things. now that we have only the web version, it's not enough for business. Because first we need to make people input lots of data into our own system, and then they have to input the same data into the electronic log. This is inconvenient, labor-intensive, and we are prepared to pay for the development to organize API with various systems. Dennis, thank you very much. I'm happy to know that you are ready to put money into this. In your presentation, you touched upon the issue of personnel. I would like to draw your attention to two industrial universities in Kaliningrad and Astrakhan. I was amazed to know that they every year 200 web programmers graduate from those universities, and they know the specifics of fleet. So your company might want to cooperate with those two universities. They would be prepared to adjust their curriculum to your needs, I think. That's what I was able to conclude from your presentation. Again, there are public-private partnerships, and one of the speakers, Ivan Pakshev, who has been through more than one PPP. And as part of a dialogue, I was asking him about risks for the government, and he said that the government is always wins. So, Ivan, could you please tell us in more detail about your experience? You might want to give some solution to those who are in the money and who want to invest them. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm happy to welcome you here. I want to be more interactive. Who is involved in fishing, not aquaculture? Could you please raise your hands? 1, 2, 3. And who is involved with aquaculture? Just one person. Oh, 3. So all the rest are seemingly involved with digitalization. Since 2001, we have been involved in interaction with the Federal Fishery Agency to digitalize aquaculture with a large scope of work, and my presentation today is about why this is important in terms of public-private partnership. What are the challenges and what are the potential benefits for the business, for the government, for the people in the country? A year ago, we had the main talks. People would say that the military operation that started in February resulted in a lack of food for fish, the seeding material. There are best practices in the world, and we see that if there is a break in a chain, we need to quickly replace the missing link. The Launching Inc. system is a logistical platform in China which deals with 90% of all container cargo in the world. They are now under sanctions. And they know that if there is a weak link, it's important to replace it quickly. We have lots of experience in PPPs, And we have shared our own vision of how to work with aquaculture. The trend that we see in the world shows that aquaculture is growing each year, and the world practice shows that 122.6 million tons have been caught here in aquaculture, which is already bigger than the fishery. We might want to use the experience of Oman, Iran, and other friendly countries in terms of aquaculture.
And of course, we will not be able to directly give the tools for the development of this industry, but we can do something for the future of it. And in optimal figures, what we have, less than 3 kilos per person have been read. In Japan, it's not 20, it is 40 kilos per capita. And in Russia, the average is 20 per person, but in our communication with the colleagues, these are the figures that we've seen, and this is a starting point for us from the analysis that we have performed. And I tried to give you understandable results, understandable examples. Everybody, I think, uses taxes, and we can recall the times of the early 1990s and the turbulent times, and there was no automation. That was a specific taxi market, and you just got into the taxi and you asked about the price and you paid it there. And then the taxi parks were introduced, and also the drivers in the taxi, they knew the map, they had it in their head, and they found their ways like this. But then Uber appeared, and it became much more automated, and it is a completely brand new system that allowed for the development of a new service. And then this type of automation made all the participants of the market, all the players, equal. And of course, it came to the point when we entered the 5th and the 6th technological mode, but it was a rather rapid transition, and we actually offer to do the same in terms of aquaculture, and these are the services that we are offering for the market. And some of the players understand that you need to be quite active on the market, and some of them are lagging behind, but we all understand that there is no way back. That is the name of our session, of our roundtable today. And if we join efforts in terms of implementing those solutions, in terms of training, and also some soft control that will be exercised, we can offer very useful standards and very useful tools. Of course, there are always leaders, like we discussed in terms of the fleet, but it will allow us to have a very active, rapid growth of the market, and that is exactly what we need. Why am I talking about PPP projects and this mechanism? Globally speaking, business has much more maneuvering capability, and there is not so much need to negotiate a lot of things, and they can do a lot of things faster than, for example, some government structures. So it is about the timeline. Businesses can test hypotheses quite fast and then offer some solutions for the market. And that is how the work is structured in terms of separate parts and units. And it is not only about digitalizing the interaction between systems, but also digitalizing specific business processes. And that is what we see happening with RAS systems. It's a quite an active process, and a part of the market players have been also already actively using that methodology. And these are the problems that we are facing on a daily basis. And it is a kind of a pie that has a lot of layers. And this is the platform that is being regulated by the state, because the state provides all this data. But then with the businesses, we are dealing with a separate paradigm, and it is quite clear how we can move forward. And we need to change the regulatory framework. That is another aspect we should focus on, and some analytical data from the systems, like from Yandex Taxi and GIS Taxi, that has been quite active since this year. And we can monitor like this the condition of a driver, whether he has had sufficient sleep. And that is what is happening in general to the infrastructure and the absence of budget funding. Like me being a private investor, we are undertaking risks, and if it works all right, then we go deeper, we search for new models, and if not, we try again. Some other slides. And here I'd like to talk specifically about this system. So it is like a cluster of platforms that are interconnected with all the participants and players of the market. And we are moving towards the integration with GIS systems in order to get some data for the players of aquaculture, and that can be like a plant that has been registered in the Mercury system. And this plant, for example, does not have a storage facility, and enterprises understand that it gives them the possibility to have more data and to make their accountability more transparent and make it faster. And some additional services, the sales, insurance, and the lending possibilities can also be implemented on this platform. So that is the additional element. Also, marketplaces, many players are looking for them. At the second plenary session, it has been mentioned, especially in terms of large corporations, large enterprises. But when we talk about SMEs, it becomes much more difficult. So we need to develop ecosystems, to create new ecosystems, to maintain a high quality, but also to ensure high speed, because their growth will mean that we will be able to grow faster as well. And that is what happens when we take a look at any ecosystem with more than 4,000 million tons, and then when they sign a contract with the multi-feed mill, that is how it functions. But with the small enterprises, the overall situation is more difficult, and from the point of view of logistics, they incur some additional costs, and the price would be identical if those tools would be if these tools were introduced. So that is what we are moving towards. So the stages that we have gone through with the interaction with GIS systems and the data that we have accumulated. So what will allow us to achieve those results, like talking globally, when we entered this market and we started writing this story, we discussed that with the colleagues with PPP mechanism, and we see ourselves as the state structures, and they are like our big brother, and we act as a small brother, so we are just helping the process. It's not about any contradictions, but this is about the detailed information. What have we achieved in 1 year? We have digitalized all those aquaculture enterprises and their hatcheries. We will have to integrate together with that the information about storage, warehouse facilities, and some indicative examples that we have seen on the fuel market. And we understand that the feed, for example, can be stored there, but for the industry, it is not for the benefit of the industry. And this experience that we have can help us improve this situation and eliminate those obstacles, because that is quite crucial for the right managerial decisions to be made. Of course, this is a huge work that is still ahead, is to be done in order to improve the conditions of all those farms and hatcheries. About 200 enterprises have registered, and the companies that are now not using it yet, it is because of the fear. They're afraid of doing that. We are trying to explain that to them, to explain about the benefits, about how convenient it can be. So we are trying to train them and what benefit it can bring for the industry in general, and also the feeding system. We are accumulating the data. It will be a specific, separate service that we will be offering. Also the marketplaces that I have previously mentioned, and also the reporting schemes. So I try to stick to the time limit. Just a brief answer, a brief question. So you see the niche, like the example that you've given us about the taxi. It was not based on a PPP project, but on the basis of the economic profit. But what about aquaculture? What actually impedes you from doing that? Well, in general, all the forum is being carried out in the framework of this aquaculture development, and we actually developed a mobile application and about 100,000 downloads per day. I think it's quite a good indicator in Pavilion F. We have a lot of visitors that have shown interest in that, and we are doing that free of charge. And our task was to digitalize those rules in order to launch this service in various regions, and we have tested that. Why are we talking specifically about PPP and the partnership? To make the process faster and to help the industry, and it will help us as a participant of this process, as a business, to get more opportunities and to get the economic profit. This expansion allows us to give this interface free of charge, and it will become the property of the state, but it will help us to remove any regulatory and psychological barriers that still remain there. It's like in a casino when you can win, but it can be stopped actually anytime. Okay, Evgeny Sergeyevich, thank you. So little time, unfortunately, is left, so please try to be brief. I heard that at the Eastern Economic Forum you presented your system that was of a very deep interest for the audience, and interest has been shown towards it. So, dear colleagues, briefly speaking, we are developing the fish marketplace. This is a B2B platform where customer, a logistical person, the refrigerating capacities, and their salespersons can meet, can offer their services in an online format. They can communicate with one another. So it is an built chat, and there is also an online translation service. If, for example, these are the customers from Asian countries, somebody who is speaking English, and we have a small video, would like to show that to you. So this is the basics for the Russian export. The market is growing, and together with that, the technological development is ongoing. And this is an advanced solution for the sale, logistics, and also the storage of fish products. B2B fish marketplace is an auxiliary tool for salespersons, the owners of the business, and other players of the market. And the main function is the sale of the services, and we can have the delivery and the keyword search. Also, a very convenient system of the filters, and also you can filter that using various criteria. And we are bringing together all the elements of the storage, logistics. The fish chat gives an opportunity to communicate on the platform. This is the tool that gives you an opportunity to directly talk to the managers of Russian and foreign companies. And in order to improve that, we offer neural network, the translation services, with the translation into the English language and the Chinese language. And this is a very good forecast tool. In analytical block, we have the forecast of the price. Machine learning have been introduced into that. We also have the closed bidding system, so a company can announce bidding and can invite other companies to take part in it. It has been moderated by the platform in accordance with international standards, and the specificity is the safety of communication and the fairness, the just monitoring of how relevant the announcements are. And we are offering a convenient interaction with consumers and clients, and it helps to reduce the costs, and it expands the boundaries of communication with various partners.
What's the cost of this great thing? It is expensive. We have spent 6 years working on it. And it's a good thing. Each year we're adding new features for programs. It's now ready, and we are launching it next week. Are you launching it in your company? Yes, in general, working with buyers and foreign partners, including Chinese. They are waiting for us to launch the program and to roll it up full scale. The online translation tool from Russian to Chinese and back will help us reduce the costs. I'm sure you are lucky, because we have the biggest ever delegation from China at this forum, and I'm sure they will be interested in your tool. If we have some time, we can showcase the tool. A couple of minutes. Let's get to Fish Chat. This is the work page. So how much is the subscription? About 5,000 rubles per month, and you can use all the features there that are available. It's not much. I'm sure everyone can afford it. Now, can we show it to you? So, please put something in. We can also add the emoji a bit later. Now we can translate this into Chinese. That's where you can also upload documents, your price list, your contract, invoice, etc. within the system. So it's a Chinese-Russian fish chat. Well, you could call it that, I guess. Right, colleagues, Ilya Shestakov has to do the visit. Now we have our own booths and we need to run. I guess I'm not sure whether we have been very clear in terms of digitalization. Or maybe we have just given you the picture of the amount of uncertainty that we are facing. Again, Rome was not built in one day, and we need time. Anyway, I'm happy because I know that digital economy, e-government, and things like that will give us an enormous boost to the fishing industry. Thank you very much to all the participants, to the audience. I'm wishing you a good day. Thank you.